You're probably shooting way too much B-roll right now. And why is that, you might ask? Well, it's because you're not looking at the bigger picture. Now, to really explain this further, we're gonna have to do a little bit of story time. Let's turn back the clocks a few days and go back to an event that I just finished filming.
I'm waiting and waiting. Have you seen the eyes pan? Have you heard the cry?
So, as per usual, I was capturing the standard event coverage, B-roll, slow-mo stuff, people's reactions, actions, cool detail stuff. But when I took down the camera, I realized that I was missing so much stuff, and that was because I was getting overly obsessed with like the cool slow-mo B-roll type sequences. And I realized that this is something that actually happens so often to us shooters, where we get so trigger happy and look down the lens and look through the monitor the entire time capturing the cool B-roll and realize that we're missing so much beautiful stuff. Also, side note, I have no idea how Jesse Driftwood does all this, like the interactive, animated, one-wheel videos. It's too much. The other major thing that you'll realize when filming a lot of B-roll is the fact that you're missing out on so much coverage that actually stitches together your story. You're basically robbing yourself of the fabric that weaves the story together, which is these things: talk to camera, interviews, dialogue, audio. You're gonna dig yourself a deep hole if you don't provide yourself some room to capture that. Well, you're probably like, Zach, well, I'll just fix it in post. I'll just put all this stuff together later and figure it out while I'm editing it. Well, yeah, B-roll montage sequences are amazing. They're so much fun when you have a lot of footage, but when it comes to actually assembling something dynamic enough to have a good story, if you're missing out on dialogue, you're missing out on audience interactions, and you're only filming the trees and the sticks and the ponds and the rivers and all of that stuff, you're gonna be missing out on so much valuable footage. I've edited videos where it is just montagey B-roll stuff, and I hate the fact that I have nothing to weave it together. You're literally making it so much harder for yourself if you don't capture this stuff, or at least stuff similar to this, like documentarian type things. You know, you watch a documentary, they have the interviews and all that stuff. You're like, Zach, okay, I know, I get it. I'm supposed to start shooting more interviews. Well, how do I do that? How do I shoot interviews for my video and make sure it properly splices into that edit so that I can implement B-roll and interviews properly? So glad you asked that. So essentially what you have to do when capturing this sort of stuff is to think ahead and plan ahead of what your narrative is actually going to be. So for example, if you're doing a documentary or filming something where the narrative is people hosting a bonfire in their backyard, you need to go capture the coverage that stitches that together. So constantly be interviewing. ABF, which is always be filming, but always be filming interviews and capturing that fabric that stitches together. So whether it's a documentary on people having a bonfire in their backyard, hosting an event for the homeless, or doing a little road trip travel video, the more coverage you have of what's happening, what's going on, how are you doing, how are things playing out, the better the video is going to be. My butt is probably so soaked after sitting in that. So the most important part is capturing interviews and making sure that you have the fabric that puts it all together. So for example, if there's ever a film that I've shot where there isn't enough fabric gluing material, I'll try and get a voiceover audio. And then obviously music can help sort of solve that issue. But if you can, start to document and capture those interviews along the way, and it's gonna make your film so much better and so much meatier. And at the end of the day, if you're like, oh, I don't want any interviews, I don't want any sort of dialogue to help weave the story together, then don't put it in. Just put in that B-roll that you have left over in your back pocket. So here are some extra tips that you should probably know for when you're capturing said interviews. The first thing is to ask questions, and ask good questions for those who are on camera. And before you film them, which is something I'm learning right now, is prime them with being like, hey, can you give me more than just simple answers? And this is for you when you're talking on camera as well. Essentially, give good answers that will work well with the footage. And you don't have to tell someone that. You'll know that if you're doing like a vlog. But make sure you're getting answers that will help the edit. So if I say, hey, what's going on? And someone gives a one-word answer where they're like, Oh, nothing. That's not good for the edit. Essentially, good stuff for an edit would be someone saying, oh, this is happening, this is happening, this is why it's happening, this is what's hard about it. And that's a good question too. What is difficult about what you're doing right now? Always film the hard parts. Number one, always try and capture that stuff, because that is the stuff that makes good documentaries golden documentaries. This seat is super duper wet. Oh my God. So if you feel, I feel like I'm not even in frame. So if you feel like maybe you're not capturing the right footage, or maybe the footage that you have is good, but it's not great, it's probably because you're missing out on the primary stuff that makes a story good, which is audio, dialogue, things that stitch the story together. I know I've said stitched a lot. And I know this is something that's like very overwhelming, like, oh man, am I shooting everything wrong? This is something that I'm learning too and just getting the hang of as well. So I'm going through this learning process too. Let me know in the comment section below. Oh my God, this is making me feel really sick. Let me know in the comment section below if stuff like this helps, if this can help you with your filmmaking journey. I know this is something that I'm always thinking about when capturing and documenting stuff. So if it's a vlog, shoot yourself and film yourself through the good times, the bad times, the great times, the ugly times, like any sort of additional stuff that you can have talking to camera or audio or something to help weave that story together. I'm telling you it's gold, and I'm telling you this from my perspective because I'm going through this issue right now with some footage that I captured. That's about it. If you guys like what I'm babbling on about and want to learn a little bit more about this filmmaking journey, you guys can take a look at YouTube. You can hit that button that gets the subscribers happening, or you can hit another button that notifies you of all the stuff that I'm making. And I just want to do a little plug and shout out for my online film program, Pocket Film School. We've launched it. It's doing well. We're getting some good feedback, and I'd love for you to give it a gander. Toy around with it, play around with it, give it a shot. I would love to hear sort of what your thoughts and opinions are of that. Essentially, we just decided to make our own film program that teaches the fundamentals of filmmaking, everything from producing, directing, writing, editing, all of the fun stuff that it takes to make a movie. It's over 9 hours of content with over 12 teachers. Anyway, guys, hopefully you're having a great day. I still have such a weird head rush from literally laying upside down for like, you know, where you're like, oh God, I feel a little pukage happening. I feel a little bit of that right now. But now that you know all of that fun stuff, that's it.